Your thyroid is a little off. We'll just watch it. If you've ever heard that while you're freezing, gaining weight, and dragging through your day, this video is for you. I'm going to show you when just watch it is safe, when it quietly steals your energy after 40, and how to walk into your next appointment with a simple checklist instead of hoping someone else decides your future. So you finally go to your doctor. They run blood work. A few days later, you get the call. Your thyroid is a little off, nothing major. It's called subclinical hypothyroidism. We'll just watch it. You hang up thinking, so I feel this bad and the plan is nothing? That's the tension of this entire video, and that's why we need to talk about what's really hiding behind the phrase, "we'll just watch it." On paper, subclinical hypothyroidism sounds harmless. Your TSH, the signal from your brain telling your thyroid how hard to work, is mildly elevated. But your main thyroid hormone, usually called free T4, is still in the normal range. You don't qualify as fully hypothyroid, so a lot of doctors shrug and say, let's recheck in 6 to 12 months. But you're not a lab result. You're a human who still has to get through the day. Here's my opinion, and it's going to guide this whole episode. Subclinical hypothyroidism after 40 is not just a lab quirk, it's an early warning system. Ignoring it blindly is just as risky as medicating it blindly. We're going to push back on two extremes. The "you're fine, it's in range, it's all in your head" camp, and the "your TSH is 4.1, you must start meds immediately" camp. The truth, especially for people over 40, is much more nuanced and honestly more empowering than either of those. Let's zoom out for a second. After 40, a lot of things start shifting. Hormones are changing, yes, for men too, not just women. Muscle mass is harder to maintain. Sleep is more fragile. Stress has usually been simmering for decades. In that context, a borderline thyroid isn't happening in a vacuum. It's one piece of a bigger system that's under pressure. That's why I don't see subclinical hypothyroidism as nothing. I see it as your body whispering, hey, something in our energy system is off. Are you listening? So before we even talk about treatment, I want you to step back and ask yourself honestly, when you hear subclinical, do you secretly minimize your own symptoms, like they're not bad enough to deserve real attention? Because that mindset alone can keep people stuck for years. You might have even had this conversation. You say, I'm exhausted, I'm gaining weight, my hair is thinning. Your doctor says, your labs are basically okay, maybe it's stress, try to exercise more. And you walk out feeling dramatic or weak or like you're just failing at life. Here's the reframe I want you to carry through this episode. Your experience matters as much as your lab report. Not more, not less, as much. In this video, we're going to challenge the automatic watch and wait strategy and the automatic pill for every lab blip strategy. We're going to treat you like the CEO of your own health because you're the one who has to live with the consequences either way. So instead of only asking, do I take the pill or not, I want you to start asking, what is my thyroid trying to tell me about the way my entire system is running? Because the real issue is not just thyroid hormone. It's energy, it's metabolism, it's how you want to feel in the second half of your life. And here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of people only start taking their energy seriously when something scary shows up. A heart issue, diabetes, or clear-cut hypothyroidism. Subclinical hypothyroidism is like a yellow light. Not red yet, but if you blow through enough yellow lights, you know what happens. So let's pull back the curtain on what's actually happening in your doctor's mind when they see that subclinical result. And then we'll talk about what you can do about it. Let's step into your doctor's shoes for a minute,
Because once you understand what they're actually thinking, your whole experience with this label changes. Most visits go something like this. They glance at your TSH. Maybe it's 4.3, 5.2, 6.8. Then they look at your free T4, still technically normal. If you're over 40 or 50, a lot of doctors quietly think, yeah, TSH tends to drift up with age. No big deal. They may also be thinking about guidelines that say treatment is optional when TSH is under 10 and T4 is normal. So they say, we'll recheck in 6 months, and it sounds casual. In other words, we'll just watch it. But under the surface, there's a decision tree going on. How high is the TSH? Mildly elevated, say 4 to 7, versus higher, 8 to 10 and above.
How old are you? Over 65, they're more cautious with medication because too much thyroid hormone can strain the heart or thin the bones. Any antibodies? If you've ever heard Hashimotos, that usually means your immune system is attacking your thyroid. Positive antibodies mean you're more likely to slide into full hypothyroidism over time. Any big risk factors? High cholesterol, heart disease, pregnancy, or trying to conceive all push them more toward treatment. Now here's where I'm going to take a stand. The biggest mistake in subclinical hypothyroidism is treating the lab number in isolation and ignoring the human sitting 3 feet away. Because none of that decision tree means much if your doctor spends 30 seconds on your symptoms. Let's say your TSH is 5.0. On paper, your doctor may see mild, but in your life, it might look like you can't get through the day without caffeine. Your weight keeps creeping up even when you're careful. You're more forgetful, names, tasks, why you walked into the room. Your cholesterol has quietly climbed over the last few years. Is that mild, or is that your whole quality of life? Here's the twist. Some people with the exact same TSH of 5.0 feel totally fine. They're active, energetic, sleeping well. Treating them just in case doesn't always help and can sometimes overshoot, causing anxiety, palpitations, or bone loss over time. So the question is not TSH5 good or bad. The real question is TSH5 in your body at your age with your history. What does it actually mean? Have you ever let a borderline lab result override what your body has been screaming at you for months or even years? I see 2 patterns over and over. People who feel awful but have barely abnormal labs and no one takes them seriously. And people who feel okay but get scared into medication before they ever try to optimize lifestyle, nutrition, sleep, or stress. Neither extreme respects the whole picture. Let's talk evidence for a second without drowning in jargon. Broadly speaking, subclinical hypothyroidism, especially with TSH above about 7 to 10 or in people with thyroid antibodies, has been linked with higher cholesterol, increased risk of heart disease, and faster progression to full hypothyroidism over time. For example, several large population studies have found that people with a TSH persistently above around 7 to 10, especially with thyroid antibodies, are more likely to see cholesterol rise and drift into overt hypothyroidism over the next few years. On the other hand, in older adults, especially over 65 or 70, aggressively treating mild TSH elevations doesn't always improve how they feel and may come with risks if they end up slightly over-medicated. So what do you do if you're in your 40s, 50s, or early 60s, the in-between crowd? Here's my stance for this age group. Subclinical hypothyroidism after 40 should trigger a full lifestyle and metabolic audit first and a thoughtful medication discussion second, not the other way around. That means instead of jumping immediately to, do I need levothyroxine, the better sequence is, how bad are my symptoms, really, if I'm brutally honest? What do my other markers look like? Cholesterol, blood sugar, inflammation, weight, blood pressure. What does my life actually look like? Sleep, stress, movement, food, alcohol, smoking.
Because your thyroid doesn't live in a separate universe. It's deeply connected to how much muscle you have, how much and how well you sleep, the quality of your diet, the level of chronic stress running the show. Here's the part nobody says out loud. For many people, subclinical hypothyroidism is the body's way of saying, we can't power this lifestyle at full speed. It's like an internal dimmer switch. Does that mean no one should ever take thyroid medication for subclinical hypothyroidism? No. There are people who feel dramatically better on a small dose when it's done carefully and monitored. But skipping the deeper audit and going straight to a pill is like turning up the gas on an engine without checking the oil, the coolant, or the brakes. If this is resonating, I'd actually love to hear in the comments. Have you ever been told to just watch it with subclinical hypothyroidism? What did that feel like for you? Now let's talk about that audit, the levers you actually control, and how they interact with your thyroid, whether or not you ever touch a prescription. Let's talk about the part nobody puts on the lab slip, the levers you actually control. Imagine your thyroid as the energy manager in a company that's been understaffed for years. You're asking it to handle stress, poor sleep, ultra-processed food, constant notifications, and maybe a glass or two of wine at night, on a 20-year-old operating budget. At some point, the manager starts dimming the lights. That dimming is often what we label subclinical hypothyroidism.
So what do you do with that? I look at 5 big levers that interact with your thyroid, whether or not you ever touch a prescription. First, muscle. After 40, you naturally lose muscle unless you actively fight it. Muscle isn't just about looks, it's a metabolic organ. More muscle means better blood sugar control, better insulin sensitivity, better overall metabolic flexibility. All of that reduces the burden on your thyroid. When muscle goes down and body fat creeps up, your system becomes less efficient, and the thyroid gets asked to do more with less. A lot of people are trying to fix a thyroid issue that's partly a muscle issue. Second, protein and real food. Your thyroid needs raw materials: iodine, selenium, iron, zinc, B vitamins, enough calories, and enough protein. Diets that are low in protein, heavy on ultra-processed carbs, or chronically low-calorie can signal to your body, we're in a famine, slow everything down. That slowdown can show up as a bump in TSH and all the classic hypothyroid-like symptoms, even if you never cross into overt territory. I'm not saying a steak will cure Hashimotos. I am saying you can't expect peak thyroid performance if breakfast is a muffin, lunch is skipped, and dinner is takeout 4 nights a week. Third, sleep and circadian rhythm. Your hormones keep a rhythm. Cortisol, melatonin, thyroid hormones, they dance together. Chronic late nights, blue light overload, or fractured sleep from scrolling in bed tell your body, we live in chaos now. Over time, that chaos can stress the system and show up as fatigue, weight gain, brain fog, the same cluster you're blaming solely on your thyroid. Fourth, stress and cortisol. Long-term stress doesn't just make you tense. It changes how your body uses energy. Chronic stress and elevated cortisol can affect thyroid hormone conversion and how sensitive your tissues are to those hormones. Your lab might still print normal, but your experience is anything but. This is why some people don't just need a new dose, they need new boundaries. Fifth, inflammation and autoimmunity. If your subclinical hypothyroidism is driven by autoimmune thyroiditis, often called Hashimotos, your immune system is part of the story, not just your thyroid gland. In that case, what you eat, how much you move, your gut health, and your stress load can all fan the flames or start to calm them down. Now here's the mistake I see over and over. People treat these levers as nice extras after the medication decision instead of the foundation before and alongside it. I'm going to say something a little uncomfortable.
If you're sleeping 5 hours, living on caffeine and sugar, never lifting anything heavier than your phone, and constantly stressed, then asking, should my TSH of 5.5 be medicated, is a bit like arguing about premium gas for a car with 4 flat tires. That doesn't mean meds don't matter. It means they're not magic. Before you took your thyroid labs personally, did you really give your lifestyle an honest, grown-up trial run, 8 to 12 weeks of intentional change, or have you mostly hoped a prescription would fix a life that's running on fumes? For a lot of people over 40, the most honest answer is no, not really. In a minute, I'll talk about how to decide between lifestyle first, medication first, or a combination. But first, let me give you a simple, not perfect, but real example of a thyroid-friendly reset. 2 or 3 strength training sessions a week, even at home with bands or dumbbells. Aiming for protein at every meal: eggs, Greek yogurt, beans, fish, poultry, tofu, something real. A hard cutoff for screens at night, 30 to 60 minutes before bed. 1 or 2 small stress pressure valves built into the day, a 10-minute walk, breathing practice, a real lunch break instead of emails over your sandwich. Is that going to fix subclinical hypothyroidism in everyone? No, but it changes the context in which your thyroid is trying to work. And that context is everything. Now, let's bring this back to what you probably care about most. How do you decide, practically, whether to push harder on lifestyle, ask for a medication trial, or do both? Because it's not just about reading blogs or watching videos. At some point, you have to sit in a room with a real doctor in a real 15-minute appointment and make a choice you'll live with. So let's turn this into a concrete game plan. Picture this. You've got an appointment next week. You've lived with low energy, stubborn weight, and brain fog long enough. Your labs say subclinical hypothyroidism. Your doctor is busy. You get 10 to 15 minutes tops. Most people walk into that room hoping the doctor will magically connect all the dots for them. I want you to walk in like the CEO of your own health. Here's how that looks in real life. First, you show up with data that actually describes your life, not just your lab values. A short symptom list: fatigue, weight change, hair changes, mood, sleep, cold intolerance, brain fog. How long you've noticed each one and how much it affects your day. Any changes you've already made: walking more, lifting weights, changing your diet, adjusting caffeine, working on sleep. Second, you come with clear questions, not just, "So, am I okay?" You might say, "Given my age and my TSH being in this range, what are the pros and cons of treating now versus watching and waiting? If we don't treat, how will we monitor this? How often should we check my labs, and what symptoms would be a red flag? If we do try medication, what's the goal? Just normalize TSH, or actually see if my symptoms improve over the next 3 to 6 months? If meds aren't your first choice, what lifestyle changes would you want to see me commit to before we revisit this?" Notice something. You're not begging. You're collaborating. Now, let's talk about the 3 main paths people often end up choosing. Path 1. Lifestyle first, close monitoring. This fits someone whose TSH is mildly elevated, symptoms are annoying but not destroying life, and who's willing to treat this like a serious project for 8 to 12 weeks. You and your doctor agree. You'll prioritize sleep, protein, muscle, stress, and overall real food. You'll track symptoms. You'll repeat labs in a set time frame and adjust if things worsen or don't budge. Path 2. Lifestyle plus a low-dose medication trial. Here, your symptoms are hitting your quality of life hard. Maybe cholesterol is creeping up. Maybe you have antibodies. Maybe you've already tried the lifestyle work. You and your doctor agree. To start a low dose of thyroid hormone. to define what success means: better energy, improved mood, less brain fog, maybe changes in labs and cholesterol. To recheck in a few months and adjust up, down, or even off based on both symptoms and numbers. Path 3. Medication first with lifestyle as non-negotiable support. This may fit if your TSH is higher, your risk factors are stacking up, or you're smack in the middle of feeling awful. Even here, lifestyle is not optional. The pill doesn't replace your responsibility, it just joins the team. Here's the uncomfortable part. There is risk in treating, and there is risk in not treating. Too much thyroid hormone over time can push your heart and bones too hard. Too little, especially if your TSH creeps up and stays up, can drag your metabolism, cholesterol, and overall vitality down. There is no zero-risk option. There is only informed risk. 5 years from now, would you rather look back and say, "I ignored my body because my labs were borderline," or "I took ownership, asked hard questions, and made a conscious choice I can live with"? That's really what this whole conversation is about: ownership. And I need to say this part clearly and directly. I am not a doctor. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Do not start, stop, or change any medication or treatment based on this video. Always consult your physician or a qualified healthcare provider about your specific situation. Use this episode as a script for that conversation, not as a replacement for it. The goal is that the next time someone says, "We'll just watch it," you're not stuck with silence. You'll have questions, options, and an actual plan on the table. So, here's your simple, grown-up next step after this video. Write down your top 5 symptoms and how they actually affect your life. Write down what you've already tried, honestly. Decide which path you think you're leaning toward: lifestyle first, lifestyle plus low-dose trial, or medication first with strong lifestyle support. Bring that to your doctor and say, "Here's where I'm at. Can we walk through the options together?" You may not get a perfect answer. You may need a second opinion. You may need time to experiment and adjust. That's okay. Health after 40 is not about perfection. It's about course correction. I'll leave you with this. You can't control every lab result. You can't control every diagnosis. But you can control whether you treat your body like a problem to be managed or a partner to be listened to. Before you scroll to the next thing, take 2 minutes right now and answer this in a notebook or in your phone. If my thyroid is an early warning system, what is it warning me about in the way I'm living my life today? Not what your doctor thinks, not what the internet thinks, what you think. Because the real turning point in subclinical hypothyroidism isn't when your TSH changes. It's when you decide you're no longer willing to sleepwalk through your own life.